Well, it's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means once again we continue with more of New Japan Pro Wrestling with their annual tag team tournament, World Tag League. So today we're just going to focus on B Block only. We're not going to focus on the earlier matches because they're more preview matches, but we will see what happens when their day comes. But we also move on with NWA Powerrr with a very interesting match that features a gobble gobble match featuring Aaron Stevens and CJ. Well, I hope CJ wins. But anyway, we also have to see what the Spectaculars would do with a brand new member facing off against the Southern Six. Then we move on with our final review, NXT. As you know, we continue with more qualifying matches for both men's and women's of the Iron Survival Challenge. And this time JBL makes his pick. We will see who will come out as the next qualifiers. And then, of course, in the NXT, the main event features the NXT Women's Championship. Will Lyra Valkyria reign supreme, or will Zaya Brookside finally get her message out? Well, we will see when that day comes. But also, we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, any wrestlers that either been signed or departing from the promotions, injured wrestlers, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. So we also do some discussion videos involving topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, championships, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. And also, if we don't do any updates on what's been going on in the pro wrestling on this episode, we'll do it separately by itself and other cool stuff that we do on this channel. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us on the subscribe button. So you'll be getting a lot of daily reviews. But also, if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or leave us a nice comment down below. Now, let's get started with our very first review. As you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling has begun with their annual tag team tournament, World Tag League. Now, keep in mind, I failed to mention this on the last episode of the start of the tournament. This is World Tag League. This is where all heavyweight competitors are involved. Now, we just recently had Super Junior Tag League, which is the junior heavyweight competitors. Now we're doing heavy hitting tag teams. So that's something we got to focus on. Now, we already reviewed day one, which features Block A matches. Right now, this is Block B. So we're just going to focus on those matches. So let's get started right now. Our first match in the Block B, we have Soberano Jr. and Atlantis Jr., who have teamed up ever since Soberano has turned a new leaf. They take on against the veteran group who hated each other for a long time, for almost 40 years. Yuji Nagata and Minoru Suzuki. Now, some of you may think, well, we have seen Minoru Suzuki, how dangerous he can be in the ring, which is no secret, and Yuji Nagata, a fantastic striker. However, you probably would have assumed that Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata would have won this match, but however, somehow Soberano Jr. pulled up an upset by pinning Minoru Suzuki, giving him and Atlantis the first 2 points. And this was a big shock. If I was Soberano Jr., I would be watching my back, because I don't want Minoru Suzuki to clobber me or try to kill me. Now, our next match, we have the Rogue Army. Well, more of an offshoot of the, like a connection with the Bullet Club. We have Jack Banzai and, of course, Balak Fale, who we haven't seen for quite some time. Now, some of you may question, where the hell was Balak Fale? Well, he runs the New Zealand dojo down there anyway for New Japan, and of course he has his own group, a Bullet Club group down there called the Rogue Army. Mostly they run anywhere from New Zealand and Australia, so that says it all. But their opponents is none other than Monster Sauce, consistent of Alex Zane and the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer. Now, this was a good match because, of course, there's been like a bit of rivalry or so between Lance Archer and Balak Fale that dates back during the G1 of last year, I believe. So, it's more of a revenge, but Jack Banzai, who I have to say I give him credit for being a guy with big balls, tried to stand up against the Murder Hawk. But, of course, just like any other moment, he screwed up. Basically, he was the one who got the cinnamon twist by the Sauce himself, Alex Zane, giving Monster Sauce their first 2 points. Now, our next match, we have just 5 guys, Yuya Uemura and Taichi. They take on, what's his name? Well, Yota Tsuji and Sandoka Jr. Now, keep in mind, Sandoka Jr. is not a member of LIJ, but he is someone that Yota Tsuji had met during his time in Mexico. Now, not much about him, I know, but interesting storyline for this match is between Yuya Uemura and Yota Tsuji. Now, if you guys remember clearly, these 2 guys were part of the same class until they went on their excursions. Yuya went to the U.S. to study under Katsuyori Shibata, and of course we have, what's his name? Yuya Uemura that went to the UK, of course, there, and that sets it all, for them. But it was a very interesting rivalry. But I have to say, Yuya actually applied a deadbolt onto on Yoda just like that. But I have to say, this was another good match because it showed, okay, Yuya and Taichi can coexist. See how they can do together as a tag team. And they pulled off a pretty good win thanks to Taichi with the Black Mephisto onto Sandoka Jr. And just like that, they won. Now, our main event, this one's an interesting. This is the Battle of Champions. We have the JOD, El Phantasmo and Hikuleo, who are the current New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Champions. They face against the IWGP World Tag Team, the Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Bishamon, consistent of Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. So I have to say, this is played out a pretty good, not a stipulation, but more like implications. If Bushimon pins the GOD, they can actually challenge for their belts. That is no secret right there. But GOD could do the same thing too. But it was a fantastic match, not gonna lie. But I have to say, we're seeing now, even though we can consider what West Coast Wrecking Crew said was true, El Phantasmo and Hikuleo are a makeshift team. But nonetheless, they are learning how to act like a tag team. And I think that's very important. It doesn't matter about how long the tag team can be together. It's now how can you work together as a team. And I think that's one of the best important things in the storyline with Phantasmo and, of course, Hikuleo. They came together as a team and they learned to act like a team. And I think that's what makes them good. They learned to trust each other, always have each other's backs. And I think that's what makes this match pretty important. But in the end, it was, of course, El Phantasmo with Thunder Kiss 97 on Yoshihashi. But it was Hikuleo who picked up the pinfall. And now, because GOD win, they could actually cash in an opportunity. If they don't win the tournament, they can cash in an opportunity for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. But however, El Phantasmo said that they are now determined to make it all the way to the finals to fulfill their dream to get to Tokyo Dome. So now we're going to see how their journey plays out. But as I said before, if they don't win this tournament, they can cash in their opportunity for those belts. So we'll see what happens here on out. And I think that's pretty much it right now with New Japan. Let's move on with NWA Powerrr. Excuse me. Now, NWA Powerrr. It opened up with the Turkey Gbble match. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what's going on in this match, let me explain what happened. A couple weeks ago, CJ, who is the manager and valet for Magic Inc., low blowed Aaron Stevens, which was a humiliating thing for him, but a great laughter for us who hates him. Now, we all know Aaron Stevens is a scumbag. To ensure that Blunt Force Trauma remain tag champions, well, she took matters in her own hands. However, Aaron Stevens, who's saying that she should be, how do I say, penaltied for what she did. But however, he decided, I'm going to humiliate her with the Turkey Gbble match. So the idea is, if you lose this match, you have to wear a turkey hat and gobble. Now, it's no secret that Stevens would ensure that he would win this match. That's exactly what he did. Now, instead of having Blunt Force Trauma, he had a couple of other stooges by his side. I heard they called themselves the Carnies, or I'm not sure. But anyway, they were there to give him a helping hand. But luckily, CJ had Magic Inc. But however, it was CJ with the roll up onto Aaron Stevens to pick up the win. Now, Stevens tried to run like the coward, but luckily they put him with the hat, and he had no other choice but to gobble, gobble, gobble. Another humiliating moment for Aaron Stevens, so I hope he learns his lesson from there. Now, at the podium, Kyle Davis makes his interview with none other than, well, she never talks, Max the Impaler, and of course, Father James Mitchell. Now, Mitchell, of course, did all the talking. He talked about how things are back in order with the sinister, with the miserable faithful, with the, how do I say, having Sal the Pal and Gags the Gimp back home. So he addressed that part. However, there was more that, of course, he addressed. As you know, Max the Impaler is the NWA Women's World Television Champion. Apparently, she pinned Nims before, so he also addressed that as well. That sooner or later, that Max will be coming for that belt. But however, I knew that he was going to address it sooner or later. He addressed the current NWA Women's World Champion, Kylie Paige. Now, Kylie Paige, if you guys remember, she lost the NWA World Television, or the Women's World Television title, to Max the Impaler, but she initiated herself in a Rumble match to ensure herself that she gets a shot of the women's title. Now, I'm sure she's not going to like this whatsoever. I'm sure she will find something that ensures, but of course, to ensure that this match will stay. But the problem is, Max the Impaler, she's someone you don't want to piss off. But even if Kylie Paige, in my opinion, defeats Max the Impaler, it's not going to stop there. So that's no secret for me. But we'll see what happens until then. Now, speaking of Kylie Paige, her baby sister, Kylie Paige, handled Big Mama. So I don't know much about this, but I can assure you that this match ended in Kylie Paige's favor. She didn't cheat by any chance, but she was able to use Big Mama's weight against her to pick up the win. Now, an interesting match we have, of course, they introduced in the podium a brand new tag team called the Slime Balls with the guys named Sage Jance and Tommy Rant. So basically, they are new talent now in the NWA. So there's that. So we'll see how these guys will do in NWA. Now, we do get another interesting interview with May Valentine, but this time she interviews Tim Storm. Now, Tim Storm is back full-time as a wrestler in the in-ring. However, he said that he wants to tag team with Jack Snake. Now, he hasn't heard anything yet, but we'll see what happens until then. Now, there was an incident that took place during a NWA wrestling ring where Samantha Starr took it too far with another wrestler named Chelsea. We don't know what's the situation on that. Now, our main event, we have the Southern Six, consistent of Thrillbilly Cyrus, Alex Taylor, and, of course, the former NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion, Carrie Morton, they take on the Spectaculars, Rush and Rolando Freeman, teaming with Midas Black. Now, I thought the match was okay, introducing Midas Black, but however, Midas Black was basically the weakest link. He was the one taken out, and Alex Taylor picked up the win. So, as you know, the Silver Six are trying to say that they are the ones that run the business. But we'll see what happens then. But however, I have kind of questioned, was it the right choice to have Midas Black as a member of the Spectaculars? Well, we'll see in the upcoming weeks from here on out. And I think that's pretty much it with the NWA. So let's move on with our final review, NXT. Okay, our final review, NXT. It started out with the NXT Heritage Cup. Now, if you guys remember, Noam Dar defended the title against member of the Alpha Academy, what's his name? Akira Tozawa. However, he faces against Chad Gable, which is a good specialized match, in my opinion, for Chad Gable. But this match was so unbelievably good. It showed, yes, there's technical aspects of this match. But one thing that was surprising to me that each of them won one round apiece. However, this match ended in a draw. But of course, Noam Dar retained the title. But of course, there was conflicted problems. Of course, Ora Menza tried to get involved, and then of course, what's her name? Lash Legend tried to throw up when what's his name? Otis was being a bit, freaky, and I thought it was funny. But however, Noam Dar may have retained the title, but the problem he has to understand: this doesn't mean nothing. He didn't even win, so I'm sure that's going to come out eventually. Now, JBL, as you know, has been chosen to pick this week's participants for the Iron Survival Challenge. Now, for the men's, he picked Carmelo Hayes. Reasons behind that is because he sees a lot of greatness with Carmelo Hayes. And of course, he is one of the talent beyond what everybody else is doing. But his other pick for the men's is someone that JBL feels reminded so much of himself, and that is, of course, Josh Briggs. Which is, of course, I have to say, Josh Briggs does have a little bit of that resemblance of JBL. So I think that's a good pick. I mean, two different guys. Now, as for the women, he picked their Blair Davenport. Reason behind that, their Blair Davenport is the kind of wrestler you know for a fact she's capable of doing whatever it takes to win. And of course, much like JBL, he said to Briggs, that's something that she reminds him of himself as well. And the other pick was the hell. So that's very interesting about that. So yes. Now, speaking of tag team, our current tag team champions, the family, Stax and Tony D'Angelo, are in their restaurant getting ready for they had a surprise celebration by the rest of the family to celebrate their success to recapturing the tag team titles. So I thought that was a real fun. Now, in the back, Carmelo Hayes, as you know, is preparing to face against Josh Briggs. Now, he knows that Briggs is a big and strong competitor. But of course, Trick, who's concerned because he would like to see Carmelo Hayes in the match for the Iron Survivor Challenge. He offered himself to be outside the ring by his side. But Carmelo Hayes says no because he doesn't think that there's going to be any problems. So, but we did see the same thing with Josh Briggs. He felt that there's not going to be a problem. So he tells Jensen and Henley just back away, not to get involved. So we'll see how that turns up. Now, we were supposed to have the NXT Women's title moving forward before instead of the main event, but Xia Li attacked Lyra Valkyria out of cowardness or whatever you want to say. But I thought that tells a very interesting story. But we jump into the next match featuring Malik Blade and, of course, Edris Enofe taking on Angel Garza and his cousin, Humberto Carrillo. Now, the reasons behind this match, keep in mind, now that we have brand new tag team champions, it's only a matter of time until someone steps up to challenge the family. And, of course, the cousins who are determined to prove that they are the ones who are going to dethrone them, fits in the bill. And of course, they showed a bit of the aggressiveness and what they're capable of, but they were able to defeat Blade and Enofe when Garza pinned Blade and 1, 2, 3. However, as soon as later on we did see, as soon as the Tony D'Angelo and Stacks done celebrating, they were viciously attacked by Garza and Carrillo, sending a message saying that they'll be coming for their tag titles one way or the other. But of course, it was later made official that they will be getting their shots next week. Now, our match is one of the qualifying matches of the Iron Survival Challenge. It's the men's. We have Carmelo Hayes and Josh Briggs. Now, you could say Carmelo Hayes is the heavy favorite to win the tournament. But however, because of this, all unexpectedly, Lexis King shows up and costing him the match. However, Josh Briggs was able to use that into his advantage by giving a lariat to Carmelo Hayes to pick up the win. But it's still unclear why Lexis King cost him. First, it was Trick, and now this. It makes very interesting sense how the story fills in. But I'm kind of curious how they're going to go with that. Now, as you know, Mr. Stone, who's becoming good friends with Von Wagner, he invited him to his family home to have Thanksgiving dinner, and I thought it was a very touching moment. I see how Stone and his wife were like looking a little bit awkward, how their kids were interacting with them. I thought that was hilarious, but it was great. Now, not too long ago, we saw the return of Wesley. We have no idea what was his intentions, but however, it realized that he's trying to rectify a loss that he had. Now, if you guys remember, he was the North American champion, losing to Dominic. But the only reasons because of his loss was because of Rhea Ripley. Now, he wants to have another opportunity of that belt, but Dom doesn't see any fit to have another opportunity. So he gave him a chance, but however, there's a twist. There's going to be next week a 4-way match who's going to challenge him for the title. But however, this will be his last. So basically, Wes knows that he's put himself in a very tight predicament, so he has no other choice but to accept. So anyway, as you know, Chase University is now under investigation. If you guys remember clearly, there was a bit of a dilemma that happened last week regarding what happened at the tag team title championship match last week. So we still don't know what really is going on. But however, Andre Chase will break his silence to explain what really was going on. But speaking of Chase University, Dale is a bit nervous knowing that Andre Chase is not there because of this investigation. But Daisy Jane said that she will be there by her side because coming up next, we did have the qualifying match for the women's Iron Survival Challenge. However, I have to say, Dale has been in a very tight predicament facing against more dangerous competitors like Blair Davenport. You all know, like JBL said, Blair Davenport is capable of do whatever it takes to win, and that's exactly what she did. And she put a knee strike, so she is now in the qualifying match. For the men's, we have Trick Williams, Josh Briggs, and I forgot who else was in it. But yes, so there's that. And then, of course, for the women's, we have Blair Davenport, Tiffany Stratton, and of course, Lash Legend. So that's kind of interesting to see. Now, our next match, we have Charlie Dempsey taking on Eddie Thorpe. Now, these guys came up to his face a week ago because they were questioning about him and all this stuff because they think that he could never hang with guys like them. I have to say, Eddie Thorpe has always been the odds in his life, challenging against capable wrestlers. But however, he was able to pick up a pinfall when he reversed a move onto Charlie Dempsey to win. However, of course, Dempsey's buddies attacked him out of the blue to send a direct message. Now, our main event is the NXT Women's Championship. Xia Li versus Lyra Valkyria. I have to say, this has put Lyra Valkyria to the test, making her first title defense against Xia Li. And I have to say, it wasn't easy for her. But however, she was determined to pick up the win no matter what it takes in order to prove in herself her worth, the reason why she earned to become a women's champion. And I think that's why, until she finally pinned Xia Brookside, retaining the title. But now we're going to see what's going to happen. Now we're going to wait. Either someone's going to challenge Lyra Valkyria at deadline, or she's going to take a ringside view to see who's going to come out as the Iron Survival challenge. So I'm kind of curious about that. What's her move now that she defeated Xia Li for this one? So I think that's pretty much it for all the reviews. Let's move on with news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So this is what we have for everyone. Now, Prestige Wrestling, as their upcoming event in start of 2024 Roseland 7, they announced a pretty interesting tag match. The Workhorsemen, JD Drake and Anthony Henry, will be in action to take on the Midnight Heat, Ricky Gibson and Eddie Pearl. So I'm kind of curious how that match is going to be like. Now, another tag match was announced for Ladies Night Out 13 that will happen later on this weekend on the 26th of November. We have the Hex, Marty Bell, and Allison Kay. They'll be facing against Amber O'Neil and Jessie Bell. Now, as you know, in December, on the 7th of December, MLW will have their latest pay-per-view, One Shot. They just announced that the MLW Women's Featherweight Championship will be on the line. Janai Kai actually will defend it against the cutest in the world, Maki Ito. So that's going to be fun to watch. Now, if you guys remember, last month in October, a brand new women's promotion here in the States that happened in LA on October 22nd, KItsune Women's Wrestling has launched. However, they announced that they will have a second show, but it's not going to be here in the States. It's going to be in Japan. So I'm kind of really curious how this is going to go down. But the obvious thing is, to me, as you know, I'm a fan of Unagi Sayaka. Who's going to challenge her for the title? Well, there's going to be a lot of people who probably would challenge her, but we will see that happen because we know that Unagi has been wearing the belt recently in whatever promotions she's been appearing. So we'll see about that. Now, Guilia has spoken out in an interview about the struggles with Stardom right now. As you know, recently this year, many of the Stardom talent has been injured and all this and that. So that kind of causes a little bit of a problem. So she explained about that. Even she presented this at the presentation that Bushiroad had. So that kind of sets it out. Now, speaking of that, because of the injuries and all that, Bushiroad Fight, the parent company of both New Japan and Stardom, has announced a new president who's stepping up to take over the company. It was later said that the current president, I forgot his name, Katsuhiko Harada, will be retiring starting on December 1st, and his successor will be none other than a guy named Taru Okada. So basically, he presented that he wants to reform Stardom now. As you may have heard, I mentioned this because of what Stardom has been through this past year with wrestlers that have been injured. Now, this is what he said during a press conference. I think the current Stardom, to be honest, is in a tough spot. The wrestlers are fighting in press conference, on social media, most important in the ring. But I too feel that the fans are not able to concentrate and enjoy due to the various concerns. He added, I can put my whole body on the line to improve that, but I believe that there's ways to solve various problems and make things easier for the wrestlers by taking issues personally, whether than through the admission or management. So basically, he is concerned over the well-being of the wrestlers themselves. Now, we have seen in press conferences how they get themselves and beat up. So there was concerns. So I think Okada feels that fans are losing interest in Stardom, and I think that's a very honest opinion by everybody. And I think there's been talk about that. Even Rossi Ogawa thought the same thing too. But he did also added this. In addition to the Izuki show, which we apologize for an inconvenience the other day, we have raised a number of points that we need to improve. We will be investigating in order to improve some of the issues that can be resolved quickly and that some need to resolve carefully. We need to make an announcement after the proper internal review, so please wait. I hope the wrestlers, staff, fans will continue to build Stardom into an even greater promotion and contribute to the women's wrestling in the world and the world professional wrestling. So Okada sees there was a situation that took place recently during a Stardom show that kind of brought in a bit of a situation. So Okada is feeling like some things need to be fixed, resolved, and changed. So I think I like what this guy is saying. So if he's well aware there's certain concerns on your brand, on the product, he needs to fix it right away. So I mean, if you guys remember, Starlight Kid said some things need to change with the 5-star Grand Prix system. So something is because, as you know, we saw wrestlers were getting injured during the tournament, and I think that's a problem. So I think Okada, Taro Okada, is making a fair point. Some things need to be fixed and resolved, and I think that's a good point. And of course, you want to satisfy your customers, your fans, and I think that's something that is important. I mean, look, to me as a fan, if you guys know this or not, you probably ask me yourselves, how come I don't review Raw or SmackDown? I got bored, you know, because I'm sure that WWE would try to convince me to enjoy the product again, but I got bored with them. I mean, for me, it was time to change. That's how it is. Because if people like Okada can see the fans are losing interest, then why is WWE not seeing that as well? But to me, that's what I see. Okada's seeing that fans are being dissatisfied, their concerns over the product, and something needs to be resolved. And I give him props for that. So I think that's pretty much it right now for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode with Tuesday Wrestling. Coming up, as you know, we got AEW Dynamite that features the start of the Continental Classic tournament. So I'm excited for this tournament. We're also going to see what's going to happen. As you know, we are just coming out of Full Gear, and there's going to be a lot of interesting things that are going to take place until then. Now, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to continue. Now, there are some wrestling shows I haven't seen yet. There's one from Circle 6 who I haven't seen for quite some time. There's Deadlock Pro. And, of course, ICW No Holds Barred. Man, it's been a while since I did that. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, but we will see until then. But for right now, I'm just going to wing it, just for the hell of it. But for right now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.